Hey everyone, it's Amy here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited to share with you guys my top 10 favorite powders of all time. I got a request from one of my subscribers to do a review on the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation powder that I absolutely love and picked up several months ago during the last Sephora VIB sale. And so I figured, let me go ahead and just put together an entire video on my top 10 favorite powders of all time and share those with you guys, whether they be colored or whether they be translucent, and all the reasons why and what skin types I think they would be best for. The first one, which is a drugstore favorite, or a new favorite for sure, this is the Maybelline Superstay Better Skin Transforming Powder, and I love this. This stuff is really great. I do have a lighter shade, and then I do have a darker shade if I want to match my exact skin tone, but the shade that I'm holding up right now is the shade Porcelain. This is really, really finely milled, and it's fantastic. It looks like your skin, but better. It just looks beautiful and really, really natural. Now, I do think this is one that people can get away with all skin types using this product. It's not too dry, it's not too hydrating, it's just kind of middle of the road typical powder, but yet it makes your skin just look amazing and really flawless, and it's just a really great drugstore product. So I definitely love this for setting underneath my eyes and setting concealer, or I do like using it as a light dusting to powder my face. It's also really great to touch up throughout the day. If you have a little bit of shine on your nose or your forehead, this one is really, really great. So the next one is a MAC Studio Fix powder, and this one is another one that just makes your skin look amazing, and it looks really, really great on camera. It looks really good for pictures. This one is just probably the most finely milled as far as a pressed powder. Really, really finely milled, really smooth, and it just makes your skin look absolutely flawless. I love how smooth it is and just so buttery. There's kind of no point to swatch these because most of them are translucent, and like this powder may not be the best color for everyone, but they're really, really smooth, and I just love this. It just makes my skin look even more flawless than that drugstore one, but this is definitely a favorite for setting underneath the eyes. You can definitely use it all over your face to set it, but I love this one for underneath the eyes because it just really smooths everything out, especially with wrinkles and the way that concealer can fall into fine lines. I find that this one really helps to smooth everything out and just look really, really flawless underneath. So I have quite a few shades in this, depending if I'm setting a face, setting underneath my eyes, whatever it may be, but I love this. I have always continued to repurchase this. This is a really, really great MAC powder. Now, the powder that started this whole video is the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation powder. Now, technically, this is a foundation. I have yet to ever use it as a foundation because I love it so much as a setting powder. I don't even care to try it any other way. But this one is really, really smooth. It's not quite as opaque when you first do that. When you first swatch it, it's just so thin and finely milled. So I don't really care to set it underneath my eyes with it because I find that it's not almost, I don't know if thick is the right word, because a powder doesn't seem to be thick. Like, you never describe a powder as super thick, but it just kind of feels like not opaque enough to set underneath the eyes unless you went in with a very, very light concealer. Like, if you went in with a heavy concealer, I feel like this is not going to be enough to set it, but to set your face, it's amazing. It's so finely milled. Oh, I forgot to mention, MAC Studio Fix, definitely people of all skin types. Same with Luminous Silk. I feel like people of all skin types can wear this. It's not drying at all. It's definitely more hydrating than the other two that I've already mentioned, and it just looks really flawless on your face. Like, so beautiful. Like, ultra, ultra expensive, but I think it's totally, totally worth the money. It's skin transforming. It's gorgeous. I definitely only try to use this on really special occasions just because it's so precious and beautiful and expensive. So I definitely try to only use it when I'm going for a very flawless face, but very luxurious, really worthwhile. I would definitely pick this up during the next like November Sephora VIB sale if you can. Totally worth picking it up then. Now, this last one is another technically foundation, a powder foundation. However, I do like to use this one as a foundation or as a setting powder. And this is the Tarte Creamy Powder Foundation in the shade Fair Neutral, which I believe is the lightest shade. Now, I really do enjoy this powder as both an actual foundation and as a setting powder. I do think I like it better as a setting powder just because I'm more of a full coverage girl anyway, so like having a powder foundation is like not my favorite way to wear foundation, but I do like it. But as a setting powder, it's so smooth. Not quite as opaque, a very similar formula to the Giorgio Armani, but it's so smooth, just not quite as opaque as like the MAC Studio Fix again. But this one is really great. I really like it on top of a primer or a tinted BB cream, and then setting that with this powder, it kind of gives you a really nice look, you kind of get like a lighter foundation coverage. And so because of that, I really like to use this brush that came out with this line. It has a really nice dense side, so I like to really rub it in there and stamp it, and then stamp it all over my face, and it gets a really nice coverage. And then on the days when I'm actually using this powder to set my face, I love using like a fluffy kabuki brush like this. It's perfect for, again, really stamping it in. This powder is perfect for stamping it into the skin. So this is a fantastic setting powder. Not my favorite for setting underneath the eyes, but definitely a really great actual powder foundation, or a really great powder to set all over your face by stamping it in, whether it be kind of a big fluffy kabuki brush or whether you're using it more of a foundation with like a more dense sponge. That is really great. So now the rest of the powders, I guess the next 6 are all going to be my translucent powders that I absolutely love. I tend to just love translucent powders because they're so versatile. You can bake with them. You can actually set things. They don't have to match your skin tone. You don't have to worry about tan versus when you're paler or you're more fair or anything like that. So that's why I tend to really like translucent powders. So the first one is the IT Cosmetics by Bay Pores Airbrush Silk Pressed Finishing Powder. Now they do have this in a loose form. I tend to really like pressed powders just because they're more travel friendly. You don't have to worry about anything breaking too much, like a container like you'll see in my Laura Mercier one coming up. They're just easier, so I tend to like that. This is super white kind of when you first play with it, but it is really truly translucent. It's really nice. I do find that it kind of can pill up a tad if you like use too much product. It can get a little clumpy, but it's really fantastic. I love this. This is really silky and nice. Again, another product I really like setting my face with, not really setting underneath the eyes, but for a face powder, this is really great. This is also a fantastic one to take with you along throughout the day and touch up. Really nice because it's got a really lightweight formula. For a drugstore translucent powder that is my absolute favorite from the drugstore is the Rimmel Stay Matte Long Lasting Pressed Powder in the shade Transparent. I believe maybe they do have shades in this, but I do have only the shade Transparent. I really like it. This is a fantastic one. It's a little bit more gritty, not quite as smooth as all the other powders that I talked about, but I do think it's a really nice formula, and I think it's a great cheap alternative if you don't want to spend the money on other powders that I'm mentioning that are a little bit nicer. This one is still really great from the drugstore. And so it's got a nice opacity to it, but yet, like I said, it's not quite as smooth. But this one is really good for setting underneath the eyes. You just kind of have to dig your brush in a little bit more. And it's also really great for setting your face or taking it with you and touching up throughout the day. I'm not really crazy about like the actual packaging. I think it's just kind of like, I don't know, you don't see that a lot. That tended to be like the cheaper theme to go with like back in the day. But I do like the powder, so that's not going to stop me from buying it, but I do really like it. So the next one is like one that I'm sure every single person and their mother has bought, heard about, used, like you name it, and that is the Laura Mercier setting powder, loose setting powder in the shade Translucent. Now, I did break mine, if you guys can see. Like the rib is all broken, so like the top just kind of sits on top. So unfortunately mine is all broken, but I'm almost done with it, so that's a good thing. Now this one, I will say, even though it's translucent, I do find that it has more of a yellow undertone. So if you're someone that's super fair or has a really cool pink undertone, you may not like this, because you can see it's got a strong yellow tone versus like a more white or just truly transparent undertone to it. Now as far as the formula with this one, it is so light and airy and air spun. That's one of the reasons why I like it. Like, it's just so light and just melts into your skin. The only thing I'm not crazy for is like the fact that it's not truly transparent in my eyes, but I can make it work. So it just kind of depends on what foundation color I'm using and stuff like that. But I do really like it. It's really nice. I do find that it's more hydrating than any of the other powders that I've mentioned so far, but kind of very similar to it, but yet with more of an actual translucent color, is the Kat Von D Lock-It Setting Powder in the shade Transparent. I find that this one is not quite as yellow. It still has a cream base to it, but definitely has more of a white base than that yellow base of Laura Mercier. But they're very similar. And if you guys can believe it, this powder, the Kat Von D, this new one, is even more light and air spun and so soft. Probably the softest out of all these. If I have to say my favorite all-around setting powder, as far as you can bake with it, you can set your under eyes, you can set your face, things like that, would definitely be this one. I love this. Even though it's new, I still think it takes the cake out of all of my top 10. I definitely think this one is my favorite. The only thing is because it's not pressed, it's not travel friendly as far as like you can't throw it in your purse and just touch up as easily with it. But other than that, I think it's just fantastic and it's so smooth and it melts into your skin even better. I love it for baking. I find that it's even more hydrating than the Laura Mercier one, and it's just so finely milled and so air spun. I love it. Now the last two I do really like, but I do think that if you're someone that has ultra dry skin, I would stay away with these because I find that if my skin's really dry, which I have a combo skin majority of the time, but in the wintertime I do have a little bit drier skin, that these can even be too drying for me. And so the first one, again, is another cult favorite that I'm sure a lot of people have heard, is the RCMA No Color Powder. And this one to me is like, these two I'm going to talk about are the most translucent and true like transparent out of all of them because they have such a strong white underbase, but yet they blend into the skin. Now the RCMA powder is really smooth, really air spun, really light and fluffy. A little goes a long way. And this product is probably going to last you for life unless you're like hardcore baking like every single day. This product is going to last you a really, really long time and it's not too expensive. But I do find that in the wintertime it can be a little too drying for me. During the summer, I don't think it's a problem, but very, very dry skin, it can kind of be a little too drying for me. Now going along with that, this is another one that I think that a lot of people kind of overlook that I think is a really great brand and a great setting powder. This is the Dermablend Professional Setting Powder, and this one comes like with a little puff, which I thought I would never like, and I actually end up using the puff quite a bit and like it. But this one has a sifter, so does the, oops, I just got it all over. This one does have a sifter like the Kat Von D Lock-It Setting Powder does. Laura Mercier might have had one, but mine broke, so I can't remember. But this one is so light, and it really blends into the skin. I still find that this one can be a tad drying, but definitely not quite as drying compared to RCMA. If I have to pick between these two, for setting my face, I probably prefer the Dermablend. It's definitely very, very mattifying as well, but if I'm going to bake, I definitely prefer the RCMA powder over this one. It's definitely a little too thin consistency to bake with, but for setting the face, it's a really great. Because this one does have a puff, you could take it with you to touch up throughout the day. I mean, it's just kind of a big, bulky container, but I do really like this one. This is another one that a little goes a long way, and so this is going to last you a really long time. The last 3 or 4 I mentioned, the Kat Von D, the Laura Mercier, Dermablend, and RCMA are all my favorite translucent powders that are kind of like those all-around ones where you can bake with them, you can set your under eyes, you can set your entire face, and things like that. So those are like my all-around bad boys that I can really get the job done. And then all the other ones have a little bit of color in them that I like them for certain reasons, whether it be only setting my face or setting my under eyes and stuff like that, or just touching up and that kind of stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and getting to see what my top 10 favorite powders of all time were and what I use them all for and which ones are my favorite for which skin types and things like that. If you did, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you can stay tuned to all my upcoming videos, and I will see you guys very soon.